Good morning, class. Hello and welcome to the session. I'm just going to give it a few seconds just to make sure everybody is ready to go. Let me get my presentation up. That will always help as well, won't it? Just going to make sure I can be heard. How are you on this blustery Thursday morning? It is very breezy down here. Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up. Right. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening. Whatever it is. Good morning. Good morning, class, and welcome to our second session in our series called This is Scotland. So this is part 2. If you missed part 1, it is available on our YouTube channel. Don't worry, if you did miss part 1, you can engage with this part and then you can actually revert back to part 1 and do that afterwards if you wanted to. So the way this series is made up, that is not an issue. And in today's session, we're going to be creating a digital collage. A digital collage. So, little introduction. Hopefully you remember me from last week. If not, my name is Miss Kimball. I'm going to be teaching you and your teacher how to use the Just2easy tools. So that is how we have designed the live lessons. I'm going to teach you how to use them with a context, and hopefully your teacher will pick up some tips and tricks along the way too. So teachers, listen up. There's lots of content that you can learn from today. Now, the most important part of my live lesson is always the shout out section. So I have had a couple of teachers email me back. In fact, I had one head teacher email me back, so I had to be on my best behaviour. So I would like to say a good morning and welcome to P1 to 7 classes at Fintry School in Aberdeenshire. So hello and welcome to you guys. And also some likely suspects. No, that's the wrong phrase. Some repeat offenders, something like that. So we've got P4 to 7 class at Kirkdean O'Neill Primary School in Aberdeenshire. So I'm sorry if I pronounced any of that incorrectly. But hello and welcome to you guys. I'm glad that you're joining us because you joined us for the last series that we did, didn't you? So hello and welcome. You guys will be well away with all the stuff that we're going to do today because we did a lot of JIT work last series, didn't we? So if your name wasn't on the list, don't worry. Hello and welcome. Teachers, you can email me back when I send you the link for next week's session if you want a shout out for your class. A quick waggle. So let's reflect back. I've done this the wrong way round. Here we go. Let's reflect on last week's work first before we look at our waggle. And let me move those pages around because that will drive me nuts. Here we go. Move that. There we go. Up there. And view. There we go. So last week we did some work in JIT Paint. And we are going to work with JIT Paint again this week. Okay. But last week we looked at using a library resource to make our own tartan. Okay, so do you remember we loaded up that library resource, we used our fill tool, our colour picker and our colour wheel, and we filled in all of the gaps to make our special tartan, and then we exported it and we added it into a J2 create file. Okay, so this is what our presentation is going to look like, hopefully by the end of next week. Okay, it might be that you need to carry on a little bit with your teachers once we've finished the live lessons to complete it, but we will create the bare bones of it, don't worry. So this is what our whole presentation is going to look like, something similar to this. But this is the bit that we're going to do this week. So we did this bit last week, and we're going to do this bit this week. Okay. So let's have a look. So this is going to be our digital collage. So we are going to be using JIT Paint again this week, but we're going to be using very different elements. We're going to be using the clip art functionality. So we're going to be searching for images and we're going to be stamping them onto our page. We're also going to try and do it into a shape. Oh, draw on it by mistake. We don't have to draw it into it, but I'll show you different things that we can do. You can create your own collage. So a collage is just a collection of different objects, usually from different mediums. So if you were to do a collage on a piece of paper, you might scrunch up some paper and use some glue. You might paint on it. You might add newspaper. You might add some pom-poms onto it. So that is how we would do a collage in class. And this is a digital version of that. Okay, so you can see I've got different elements to my artwork. So I've got some shapes. I've got my little Nessie. So Kirkadine O'Neill, you'll be well placed to be able to add in your Nessie if you wanted to. Your Nessie stamp that we did in the last series. We've got some words in there, so we can stamp some actual printed words. We've got some pictures, and we've also got some clip art images. Okay, so lots and lots of different types of digital content. So who would like to make one of these with me? Hopefully you've all got your hands up, or hopefully you've all said me. So let's make a start, shall we? So that's kind of what we're going to create today. Now yours might look completely different. That is just how I have created my digital collage. But we need to think about, with the digital collage, we want it to represent Scotland. Okay, so in a second, we're going to think about and explore all the things that we love about Scotland. Now, the majority of you guys live in Scotland, so you're very well placed to have a think about the things that you love about being Scottish and living in Scotland. Okay, I don't live in Scotland, so I've done a very generic things that I think about when I think about Scotland. So yours might be completely different. So we're going to have a think about that in a second. Then we're going to find and open JIT Paint, which should be easy because we used it last week. We're going to choose a background shape. Now that's not a necessity, but it's something I'm going to show you. Then we're going to search and stamp clip art images to create our This is Scotland image. Then we're going to export that image. So again, we did that last week, so that shouldn't take us too long. And then we're going to upload our image into J2 Create file, again, which is what we did last week. And then we're going to save our J2 Create file for next week. And I'm going to give you some homework. I know, don't hate me. But I will give you a homework task for you to do before the next session. I don't normally do that. But it will just make next week's session a lot easier if you do it. It's not a requirement, just makes it easier. Okay, let's get thinking. So this is the collage that we're going to create. You can see I've got Scotland in the middle, and these are all the images that I kind of thought of when I was thinking about Scotland. So my Highland cow, castles, bagpipes, thistles, kilts, and of course your shortbread, which is probably one of my favourite things about visiting Scotland, is every hotel seems to have some shortbread, which is lovely. So what makes you think of Scotland? Okay, so as I said, the majority of you live in Scotland. So you'll be able to reflect on, what bits of Scotland do you love? What do you love about being Scottish? Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute, maybe just to have a little quiet chat with the person sitting next to you, or a quiet think. I'll let your teacher decide which one you're going to do, whether you're going to have a quiet chat or a quiet think. And I want you to think about what makes you think of Scotland. Now, teachers, you might want to extend this activity. You might want to give them, some scraps of paper. If you've got a nice whiteboard that they can write sort of some keywords down, that may make the collage activity a little bit easier, because then they will have some keywords to search for clip art, but it's not a necessity. Okay, so if you do want to pause the session, run to the front of the classroom, press pause somewhere, I don't know, around here, over here maybe, and then you can press play when you're ready. So I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to sit here quietly. So what makes you think of Scotland, or what do you like about being Scottish? Now, just to make this activity easier, it needs to be things that you can have, that you can find images around. Okay, so physical objects generally are going to be the easiest. If you say things like, I like the weather, then think about which types of weather you tend to get. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make a slow start. So these are the sorts of things that made me think of Scotland. So tartan, and that's going to be a good one because actually we can add last week's image that we created. We can add that into our digital collage this week. So tartan's always a good one. Bagpipes. I love the sound of the bagpipes. It's a very Scottish sound. Definitely know you're in Scotland when you hear them. Okay, so bagpipes. And thistles. It's one of your national emblems. So I thought of a thistle. So all of those things are quite easy to search for. Okay, so tartan, bagpipes, thistle. So those will be the sorts of things that I'm going to add into my collage. Now your words will probably be very different. Okay, hopefully maybe you've got them written down or you've got them at least in your head that you're ready to search for those sorts of things. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up JIT. We're going to find JIT Paint. Don't worry, I'm going to do it step by step in a second. And this week we're going to use the clip art tools really to create your collage. We can also use the colour and fill tools. So you can see here I've used colour and fill. But generally we're going to use the clip art tools first. And there's a reason for that. Okay. So we're going to find JIT Paint. I had to think about that one then for a second. It's mind blank. So who can see JIT? Very easy. JIT. It's this lovely yellow tile here. It may be in a different space on your launchpad. If you're not logged in, teachers pause the session, get them to log in, and then you can restart the session when you're ready. And we're going to click and open JIT, but it doesn't open up as JIT Paint. Okay, JIT always opens up into Write. So you can see here we've got these 8 tabs. So these are all different tools. So we've got Write, Paint, Turtle, Chart, Pictogram, Animate, Branch, and Mix. So we're going to use Paint. So we're going to click on Paint. You'll know you're in the right place, children, because your page will be blue. If your page is a different colour, you're in the wrong space. So if your page is a different colour, make sure you click on the Paint tab or turn to the person next to you who hopefully will be able to help you. Okay, so everybody in the right space. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to choose a blank page this time. There's loads of different templates. We can use those in other lessons, but today we're going to choose our blank template. Okay, so I'm going to click here. Now, as I said, we can use the colour tools, but we're going to use those at the end, and there's kind of a reason for doing that. Okay, we're going to be using something called clip art. Does anybody know where the clip art is in JIT Paint, or what clip art is? Okay, so the clip art are these lovely images up here. Now I've got animals, and they more than likely will be animals for you as well because you've got the blank template. So we'll start with the first clip art library, which is animals. Now it could be that we're going to use the animals clip art. You know, you could click through them. So this is how we go through our clip art libraries. You know, so you could go through until you find a Scottish animal of some description. So you could add in a squirrel if you wanted to, but we're not going to. So what we're going to do is we're going to click where it says animal. So you see this bar, we're going to click, and that is going to open up our clip art options. So I'm going to show you there are 2 clip art. Now I'm going to zoom in. You don't need to. This is just so you can all definitely see. So have a look at your screen and have a look at my screen. So there's 2 areas that we're going to use. Okay, we're going to use the clip art libraries. So there's, as you can see just down here, there's lots of different libraries. So I'll go through those in a second. But that's how we can access the libraries. And we're also going to use this one here. So the globe button and the book button. Okay, so the library and the web search. So the globe button, that is how we're going to search for specific items. So we're going to start with the web search actually. And we will mostly use the web search, but just to make you aware, you can then search in the library. Okay. So we're going to click on the web search. So I want you to click on the globe, and you'll know that you clicked on the globe because you've got this search button here. Can you see? And that is where we're going to keyword search. So this is thinking of items or words to search for something. So for example, if I was to think of hiking up mountains as something that I thought of when I think of Scotland, okay, I could look for walking, I could look for hiking, or I could look for mountains. So all of those are keywords that I can use to search for images that I think would look really nice on my digital collage. So I'm going to start with something really quite simple. I'm going to search for a thistle. Okay, so thistle. And the reason that's easy is because there shouldn't be too many variations for thistle. Okay, you'll get some specific content. Now, what I will say is normally, and I'm kind of talking to the teachers now as opposed to the children. Normally, teachers, you would type a word in JIT Paint and it would come up with a lot of clip art by default. Okay, and they would tick this box to include photographs. Now, something's not working right at the moment, so they're looking into this. So if I hit enter, at the moment, a lot of photographs will come up, which is fine. Okay, but if you want more of a sort of a clip art image, you have to type thistle clip art, so 2 words, and that will bring more of a sort of hand-drawn image. Okay, but as I said, that should normally, it works that you would just type that word and it would look for clip art first and then you would tick that. So it is being looked into as we speak. So hopefully that will go back to how it was. Okay, so then children, you're going to find an image that you like. So we've got sort of 8 images here. So you get a little, these are called thumbnails, so you get a little preview. And we can click and we can scroll down. So depending on which word it is that you're looking for, you might get more. So you can see here I've only got 16 to choose from. So I might choose this one this time. So you click on the image that you like. Okay. And then depending on what image which device you're using. So if you're using an iPad or something that is touch screen, you will have to stamp on your page. Whereas if you're using a mouse, which I'm using, okay, oh, you've got the option to hover. So you can see with a mouse where you're going to place that item. So if you are using a touchscreen device, you'll need to sort of stamp on the page, see what it looks like. If you like it, you can undo it. So that's the undo button up there. Okay. So that's how we're going to put things onto the page. If you've got a mouse, you would left click and that will stamp it onto the page. Now the other thing that we've got, and I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller so it shows all of the buttons. We've got our image up here. So this is our thistle that we've chosen. Okay. And we've got these 4 buttons here and this button over here, which if you're using a white image, oh, ignore that. If that comes up, just click OK. If you're using a white image like me, it might be hidden. So can you see? So let's go through these 4 buttons. So we've got plus, which is going to make your image bigger. Minus, which is going to make your image smaller. This button is called the rotate button. So that will turn your image around, so make it face sideways or upside down. So this is rotate. And then this one is flip. So this one will flip it on the vertical axis. Okay, so it will make it go from side to side. So it's facing one way, then it'll face the other. Okay, so those 4 buttons. And then we've got this button up here. So that is what we call the reset button. So if I press that, that will reset that image back to how it was originally. Okay, so it'll reset the size, the direction it's facing, and the rotation. Okay, so that's how we can search for an image. So what I should have done, and I haven't done, is I'm going to search for a shape. Okay, so in fact I'm going to delete all of that out. And I'm going to think of a shape. So you might want a different shape to me. I'm going to put a heart shape in the middle so that my collage goes inside the heart. You might want a different shape. So you might want a circle or a diamond or a rectangle or a star, whatever it is, or a cross, whatever it is. Okay, you're going to search for that word. So I'm going to search for heart and I'm going to add the word shape afterwards, because if I look for heart, I'm probably going to come up with some physical actual hearts, and we don't want that. So I'm going to go for heart shape, and there we go. So that's brought up face shapes, because actually heart shape is a shape of face. Okay, so we're going to use my buttons, so my down button. So I could use this one if I wanted to. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I've got this one. I've got this one. So actually I might use this one here. Okay, so when you find the heart shape that you want to use, or you find the shape that you want to use, you're going to click on it. Okay, and then we're going to try and make that as big as possible. Okay, so we're going to use our big button, our bigger, 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 bigger. And this is where the mouse will come in handy, but don't worry if you've got a touch screen, because what you can do is you can stamp it on the page and you can see what it looks like, and if it looks awful you can use your undo button. Okay, so I'm going to position that somewhere in the middle of my page and I'm going to stamp it. So that is perfect. That is in the middle of my page and it's just the right size. So obviously if you are using a touchscreen and you've stamped it and it's too small or it's too big and it's coming off the page, use your undo button, resize it a bit, and then stamp it again. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my heart much smaller. So I can either use my smaller button or I can try and find, so I can hover, and I've got my reset button, so I can reset that so it does not taking up 50% of my screen. Okay. Again, teachers, if they need a little bit more time to find a shape and stamp it on their page, you can pause this session. Okay. And I am going to move on to the next bit of the session. Okay, and we're still not going to fill this in yet. Then what we're going to do is now, see, I should have done this way around. Now we're going to look for items to stamp into our heart. Okay, so, or our shape, should I say. So again, we're going to click here. We're going to click on our web search. So this is kind of what we're going to do for each object. And we're going to delete what we've added as our keyword. And again, I'm going to look for thistle. And I'm going to look for thistle clip art. I'm going to spell it properly. Clip art. Now you might want to look for something different. You might want to look for bagpipes or Highland cow or kilt or tartan or haggis or whatever it is that you love about Scotland. You can look for those words, okay? So you don't have to follow what I'm doing. You just have to follow the same process, but not the same word, okay? So I'm going to choose, I think I might go for this one actually, this image. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to kind of stamp that. Now, you have to be careful with these clip arts because can you see that's kind of got a white box around it? Okay, so we don't want to stamp it so that it's drawn over the outline of that shape, if that makes sense. So we need to just make sure that it's stamped inside somewhere and it doesn't overlap at all. So I'm going to stamp that, and I might rotate it as well so it makes it a bit easier. Oh, actually. But yeah, there we go. So I'm going to stamp that there. And also, if you want to make more of a pattern, you can stamp your images more than once. Now, I'm just going to stamp them once for me, but you might have different ideas. That is the beauty of art. You can do whatever it is you want with your digital collage. Okay. So teachers, at this point, I am just going to keep going. I'm going to keep looking for keywords. If you want and you feel your children are, able to do that keyword search, you can pause the session here. Just let them have a go, see what they create organically, and then you can press play when you're ready. Certainly for our more talented children, that'd be a really good way of doing it. Save them just copying me. But if not, you can follow me. It's not a problem. So I've got my thistle, and I'm going to keep doing that. So I'm going to open up my clip art options. I'm going to go to web search, and this time I'm just going to change this word. Instead of thistle, I'm going to change that for, let's go for kilt this time. There's a few images that I could probably use here. So I've got a lovely Scottish man here wearing a kilt. I've got another one here. So I've got full regalia going on here. Okay, I've got some images. I've got lots of images here. So multiple kilts if I wanted to. I've got Santa in a kilt. I mean, why not? I like this one, so I'm going to go for this one. So don't worry too much. I think generally, if you can use an image that's got a white background, it will look better in the long run. But don't worry, I think this image is fab here, so we can use this one. Okay, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I might stamp this over here. Okay, now what you can do to make it have a white background, if it's got a nice full color background like that one, you can then use the fill tool, select white, and you can remove that background by just painting it white. So that is an option as well. Okay, so we've got our lovely children in their kilts. And I'm going to find another image. So I might find, let's see if they've got any shortbread. Seeing as I said that was my favourite. Shortbread clip art. Oh, there is some, look. Okay, so some nice images. I'm going to use this one down here, but again, you can use those up and down. Search image. Oh, there's loads to choose from. So you can look through those libraries. I'm going to use this one because I think this will. I'm going to rotate this. Looks like a little bit pizza, doesn't it? And I'm going to pop that. I'm going to make sure it doesn't overlap anything. I'm going to pop that in there. Now, if you want to, you can add photographs. There's nothing to say that you can't. So teachers, for photographs, just search for the keyword. So for example, bagpipes, I might want an image of someone actually playing the bagpipes. So some photographs. So you can see here, these are nice. These look like clip art, but they're actually photographs because they're on a white background. But you can see here, I've got this, and I use this fabulous picture here of somebody playing the bagpipes. Oh, he's on a slant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my reset button, and I'm going to make that a bit bigger. And there we go. That is too big. So can you see I've hovered that over? That's way too big. So I'm going to make it smaller and pop that down right down the corner, I think. And there we go. And just like the locks. So it might be that you like the locks. So you can search for a lock. And here we go. We've got some lovely photographs. I don't even know if lock would come up with clip art. Let's have a look. See what comes up. Lock, clip art. Probably the Loch Ness Monster, won't it? Which we can add. I'm going to show you how to add in previous stamps in a second. So don't add any Loch Ness Monsters. unless you didn't participate in the Loch Ness series, in which case you can add Loch Ness. But there you go. So those are your, they're not as good, are they? So I'm going to add in a photograph of a Loch Ness. There we go. So I'm going to add this beautiful photograph here. Such a stunning country. You're very lucky. There we go. So I'm going to add that in there. There we go. Right, teachers, I'm going to move on now. We are going to still add a few more bits of clip art, but if they're still looking for web search, keyword searches, pause the session, allow them a little bit more time, and then press play when you're ready. So what we're going to do now, children, is we're going to add in some stamps. Okay, so last week, did we save it as a stamp? We did not, I don't think. So last week, we saved our tartan as an image. Okay, so we can add that in. So if we open up our clip art settings options, I'm going to zoom in. You don't need to. So just so you can see properly. Okay. We're going to click on this little person here. So this is my pictures. So we're going to click on this. Now it's probably going to show you all the images that you've already used this morning. Okay, but if we use our down button, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And hopefully it won't be as hidden as mine is. But hopefully if you keep clicking, you'll be able to find. I'm just wondering why. There it is. The tartan that we made last week. Okay, so we're going to click. We're going to find our tartan and we're going to click. And that's going to let us add that tartan that we made last week onto our digital collage. Now, you don't need to. So if you don't like it, you don't have to. But that is an option. So just to show you how I did that again, you're going to click on this word bar. You're going to click on this person. And then you're going to use these down buttons until you find your tartan. Okay, so that is one option. Now, for any school out there that participated in the Loch Ness series, so if you didn't, don't worry about this bit, you can add in your Loch Ness monster that we drew in JIT Paint. And that should be, hopefully, in your My Stamps area. So if you click, so you've got, we're in the library. We're going to go to this button here that says My Stamps. Now mine's going to be very hidden. So it'll take me a while to get, oh no, there it is. So hopefully yours won't be too far down either. But there is my Nessie, my Nessie 2. Let me find my original one because there she is. And then you can stamp your Nessie in. I mean, you could even stamp it onto the Loch Ness if you wanted to. You could make it face the other way if you prefer. You can make it bigger, smaller. In my waggle, I even put Nessie down there. I didn't even put her in the collage. So it's up to you. And there we go. Now, children, if you find that you have placed an image in the wrong place, unfortunately, we can't move them. Once they're stamped into JIT Paint, we can't move them. But what you can do is you can draw. So you can use white and draw over the top of something to remove it. So that's kind of why I got you to paint the background white, because it just makes it a bit easier if you want to, if you change your mind about things. So that's how you can change the order of things. Okay, and then the last thing we can do is we can add in some text. So we've got speech bubbles, they work in the same way, but this is the one we're going to use. Can you see the ABC button? The ABC Clip Art Library. So we're going to click on that, and you've got 3 fonts to choose from. So we've got Times Roman numeral, we've got, I think this is Comic Sans, and Impact. So 3 different fonts. It's entirely up to you which one you use. I like to use Impact because it makes it nice and big. And then what we can do is we can make our text a little bit bigger. Okay, so at the moment it says ABC ... So we don't want that. So can you see this bar underneath? So we've got our ABC here, but then we've got this bar here. So we're going to click on that. That's going to make it a little bit bigger. And we can delete out ABC. And you can write something. So it might be I love Scotland. You might want to label everything. So I'm just going to add I love Scotland or things I love about Scotland. Now just be mindful that there we go, the spacing of it, generally about 2 or 3 words, it will go on one line. If I add more than 2 or 3 words, I love Scotland so much, it kind of pops it onto different lines and it can make it look a little bit funny. So if you want to add in, lots of words, do it in little chunks. Hopefully that makes sense. And actually that's too big, so I want to lay that there. So I'm going to make that smaller. There we go. And the other thing I can do is I can change the colour of it. So once I've typed it, I can start messing around with the colour. I mean, even the white one's quite nice because it kind of outlines it. Okay, so find the colour that you want. So I'm going to go for, I might go for the white one. So once you've changed the colour, then, and this is an important step, okay, so at the moment it's assumed that I want to paint in white, which I don't. I want to use this. So I have to click on the words. Can you see it's got a little glow? And then I can stamp it on my page wherever I want it. So it could be in the heart, could be underneath the heart. I could put it at a slant and have it along the side if I want to, or up there. I'm going to make it, there we go. I'm going to pop it here in the middle. Make it a little bit smaller. There we go. And there we go. Right, I'm running out of time rapidly. So you could use that text button as well to put your name on it if you wanted to. You don't have to. But now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of fill in our collage with colour. So now you can use the fill tool here and choose a colour. You've got your 3D textures as well if you wanted, so different textures. Okay, and you can fill that in. So there are lots of different textures. You can just click on that little roller button and there's lots of different textures to choose from. I might go for this one. Ah, that's nice. And then you can also fill in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to fill that with, I think I might go with blue. I might go for a darker blue, so I'm going to reverse that. So remember, we've also got our colour picker tool that we used last week, so we can choose a shade that is specific to you. And there we go. Okay, so I love Scotland. You can fill this in as well. And you can fill in any gaps. Filling in the gaps is much easier if you're working with a mouse than if you're working with an iPad. So just word of warning, I'm doing it, but it really depends on what you're using. Okay, and there we go. So that's why I say kind of fill it in at the end, because it goes nicely around all of the content that we've added onto our digital collage. Okay, so teachers, if they need a little bit more time to get on with that, which I'm sure they do, pause the session, because I'm going to talk about saving and exporting now. Okay, children. Right. So at the end of any digital work, what do we need to do? That's right, we need to save our work. You're right. So we're going to hit the save button. So the save button is up here. It is orange. Okay, so we're going to hit that. Teachers, if you need an extension activity for this, or if you want to link it into maybe some literacy or speech and language, there is the record audio function at the top. So you might like them to write some sentences about what they love about Scotland or to reflect back on what they've done in this particular activity. So just hit that record button, hit record and click OK, and then save it. So that will save an additional piece of evidence should you need it. Okay, so that's a nice extension activity. But children, we need to add this into our J2 Create. So make sure you've got your ghost save button. So click on your floppy disk, children. This is what this is. This is what we used to save to in the olden times. We used to plug it into our computer, wait 20 minutes whilst it's saved, and then pulled it out. None of this saving to the cloud business. These buttons over here, this one, this is our save as image. Okay, so the top right hand corner over here. Okay, you need to press that, otherwise the next bit of the session won't work. So we're going to press that, and it's going to do this uploading paint. Don't panic, that is what it's supposed to do. Now teachers, if you are doing this on a weaker network, you might want to do this in batches of 5 or 10 children doing it at a time. Speaking from experience. And you might want to, you can check, it will save in real time. So if you want to double check before the children shut down their computers, you can go to pupil files and you can check that they've saved appropriately. So that is now exported. Okay, so exported as image. So the very last thing we need to do is we need to add our collage to our J2 Create presentation. Okay, so first of all, we need to find this, and we saved it last week. Now, for any of you that are joining us that haven't, that didn't join us for last week for making a tartan, that's fine. Don't worry, you can still participate. Just get the children to open J2 Create and wait, and we will catch you up. Okay. So children, follow your teacher's instructions. For those of you that did join us for last week's session, what I want you to do is I want you to click on your My Files. So you're going to go back to J2 Launch. You're going to click on your My Files, and you're going to search for your, I can't remember what I named it. This, not that one. So if you can't find it like me, what we're going to do is we're going to search according to file type. So this is a, believe it or not, J2E file. So we're going to click None, then we're going to click J2E, and that is going to show us, oh, there it is. This is Scotland too. Couldn't see, Woods for the Trees. So that helps you to filter some of the files that you don't want to see. It may be that you have only used it for these sessions, so it might be easier to find it. You might not need to filter it, but I use this all day, every day. So here we go. So I'm going to click on This is Scotland. And here we go. That is our tartan from last week. So to add more, we're going to click on Edit at the top. Okay. So for those of you that didn't join us last week, from this point you can join us. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the wee green man at the top. So that is how we add in images. So we're going to click on that. And hopefully your Scotland collage should be there, so we can drag that onto your page. Now, if your collage isn't there, all you need to do is go back to your JIT tab, and you need to make sure that that is saved as image. That will be the reason why it's not showing in J2 Create. Okay, so it'll be there. And then we can click on our J2 Create and we can expand it. We can make it bigger and we can move it around. You can move it wherever you want. And we can go to view and see what that looks like. So that is the beginnings of your presentation. Okay. And again, extensions, if you need them, you can add some additional text underneath, maybe explaining choices for particular images, or just title that particular piece of work, teachers, if you need an extension. Okay. And then the last thing, children, we've got 1 minute to go. We need to save our work. So we're going to click on the Save button. If you're joining us from last week, just click Save. For those of you that didn't participate in last week's session, title it and then click Save. It may take a little bit of time, especially if it's going across a network. But there we go. So that is our I Love Scotland collage added into our J2 Create presentation. So next week we're going to add in those facts about Scotland, okay? So we're going to finish up our presentation. So this is your homework, and I'm really sorry. So teachers, this is optional. It will just make next week's session a lot easier if they do participate in this. So in next week's session, we're going to be focusing on that J2 Create presentation. So this is Scotland. Okay, so we've added in our 2 images that we've made from JIT Paint. And next week, we're going to try and add in some content. Okay, so we're going to add in images, but we're going to add in some written work as well. So it would make it a lot easier if the children had some facts written down, or at least that they knew some facts, or at least that you had some, maybe some class facts written whether they could copy it down. Okay, really depends on your children's age, what class you're working with. But just be aware that will make it easier. So I'd like you to research at least 2 interesting facts about anything related to Scotland. So you can choose. This might be local to the area that you're in. It might be an interesting fact about, I know we've got 2 Aberdeenshire schools joining us. It might be an interesting fact about Aberdeenshire. It might be Scotland general. It might be a Scottish sports team. Anything related to Scotland. So you can choose. Okay, as long as you've got 2 interesting facts that you know and you are ready to write into your presentation. Okay. So thank you ever so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Teachers, I hope you've enjoyed the session as well. I am going to send you a feedback form. I'd be very grateful if you could fill it out. It gives me just a little bit of feedback about how I've done. So I'll send that out to you. But we hope to see you next week for the final instalment of This is Scotland, when we'll be finishing off our project. So thank you ever so much, class, and enjoy the rest of your week.